Hello, welcome to this tutorial on how to set up a Twitter bot in Google Cloud Platform using Secrets Manager to host its credentials. I'm Jack Edwards. Let's get started. In this tutorial, we're going to first touch on the prerequisites that you will need to do this. Secondly, we will need to look at the Twitter credentials available through the Twitter Developer Portal. Next, we will look at how to set up the bot in Google Cloud, including putting the Twitter credentials into Secrets Manager, setting up a pub subchannel with Google Cloud Scheduler, and lastly, putting the logic of the Twitter bot into a Google Cloud function. Then we will summarize with the features of Google Cloud versus hosting it yourself, and also a brief look at the costs of my own Twitter bot, TweevyBot, and also how to calculate your own costs should you want to do this yourself. So let's look at the prerequisites that you will need to set up this Twitter bot. Firstly, you're going to need a Twitter developer account. This is available through the page linked in the description to the Twitter developer portal where you can apply to set up a developer account. Secondly, you're going to need a Google Cloud Platform account. You can again go to the link in the description to the Google Cloud Platform free trial to set up your account and get started today. Next, let's look at the Twitter credentials available through the Twitter developer portal. In this section, we've got two things we're going to look at. Firstly, creating a Twitter project in the developer portal, and then also generating and getting our access credentials. Before we get started using the credentials proper, I just wanted to mention that Twitter has excellent documentation available on their website. There is also a link in the description to the same documentation if you want to read up more on these credentials that we're using and how they work. With that said, let's move over to the developer portal. Here we are in the developer main page. To get to the portal, we go to the top here to developer portal. That will take us to our developer dashboard, and here we can create a project. Next, we need to give a name to our project. Select a use case. We're making a bot, so select make a bot. Give your project a description. And finally, give your app a name. And then hit complete. Once our project has been created, Twitter will give us 3 credentials. 2 of these we're going to need to store temporarily for use later. First one is our API key, and the second is our API secret key. For the rest of this tutorial, I will refer to these as consumer key and consumer secret. Let's copy these to Notepad for now. There is our API key called consumer key. And there is our API secret key, which I refer to as consumer secret. Now we can move on to the next stage. After noting down our consumer secrets, we can scroll down and press App Settings. This takes us into our project page, wherein we can expand the menu on the left here and go to our bot settings. In here, we can first see that our app's permissions are set to read only, meaning it can read tweets and profile information. If we want this bot to post tweets, we need to adjust this. So we go to Edit next to App Permissions, and then select Read and Write, save, and then press Yes. Now our bot has been enabled to post tweets. Next, we're going to need the last 2 pieces of the puzzle, which are the access token and access token secret. We can get those by selecting keys and tokens at the top, and then we can hit generate. This will display our access token and access token secret, and we need to put these onto that same temporary storage that we put the consumer secrets into earlier. Again, I'm using Notepad++. Now we've got those, just hit yes. I saved them. Next, we need to look at the setup of Google Cloud Platform to host our Twitter bot and Twitter credentials. We're going to be going through setting up Secrets Manager to host and secure our Twitter credentials we got earlier. We'll be setting up a pub sub channel with Cloud Scheduler influencing that pub sub channel on a timed method. And lastly, we'll be setting up Google Cloud Functions to host the logic of our Twitter bot. Links to all of these Google Cloud products are in the description. First, we're going to be setting up GCP Secret Manager to host the 4 credentials we got from Twitter earlier. And also we're going to be setting up permissions to allow our project to access those credentials via GCP Secret Manager. To get started with Secret Manager, you can go to the link in the description, or you can search for Secret Manager in the Google Cloud Platform, and you'll be taken to this page where we need to enable the Secret Manager API. So hit Enable. After waiting a little while, the API will then be enabled on your project, and then you can select Create Secret. In here, we're going to be creating 4 secrets to be managed by GCP Secrets Manager, and I recommend following the naming convention I mentioned earlier. So in our first example, we're going to be putting in our consumer key. So call it Twitter_consumer_key. Next, we want to put in our secret value. This is the consumer key value you copied earlier in the first step of setting it up. Paste that in there, and then just leave everything else at the defaults and press Create Secret. And now you can see we have our Twitter consumer key secret enabled at version 1. Go back to our main menu, and you can see it is listed in our Secrets Manager main dashboard. Repeat this process for the consumer secret, access token, and access secret, and then we can move on. I've skipped ahead a bit here, but obviously you will have needed to create the other 3 secrets by pressing the Create Secret button at the top here, and then putting in the respective values that we copied from Twitter earlier. Remember that now you've got these saved in here, you can delete the temporary storage that you use to hold those credentials before we put them into Secrets Manager. Next, we need to set up permissions for our project to access these secrets. To do this, select all of your secrets that you want it to have access to. On the right, go to Add Member. Start typing in the name of your project. As you can see at the top left, mine is called Example Twitterbot Jacksec27. Google Cloud Platform will try and autofill. In this example, we've got the correct one here, so we just select our name of our project. And then we need to give it the role of Secret Manager Accessor, so that it can access and read our secrets. Then press Save. As you can see on the right, we now have a new level of access and permissions, where which you can expand and see that your project does indeed have accessor permissions for your 4 Twitter secrets. Now we've set up Secrets Manager and the appropriate permissions for our Twitter secrets, we can move on to PubSub and Cloud Scheduler. GCP PubSub and GCP Cloud Scheduler are 2 mechanisms used to automate tasks inside Google Cloud Platform. In this tutorial, we're going to be first creating a PubSub topic and then creating a Google Cloud Scheduler schedule in order to influence that PubSub channel. Links for both these Google Cloud products are in the description, as well as crontab Guru, a really useful cron calculator for calculating timing in PubSub and Cloud Scheduler. First, let's set up our PubSub channel. PubSub channels are a publish subscription model wherein you can subscribe certain functions in Google Cloud to the channel, and other functions, such as Google Cloud Scheduler, can publish information to them. Let's first create a topic. Name your topic. This should be related to what the function of this Cloud PubSub channel is. In this example, we're going to be going with a monthly tweet. Then press Create Topic. and you can see a new topic and new subscription has been successfully created. After creating our Pub sub channel, we now need to create a Cloud Scheduler schedule. Here we are in the main Cloud Scheduler dashboard. Let's hit Create Job. Next, we need to select our region. Remember that when you select a region here, your GCP Cloud function that you will put your Twitterbot logic into later will need to be in the same region that you select here. I'm based in the UK, so I'm going to select Europe West 2. Then hit Next. After about a minute, Google Cloud Platform will have initialized Google Cloud Scheduler in the region you selected, and you'll be presented with this screen. Here is where we choose the configuration for our schedule. The first is a name for the schedule. This must be unique across the project, so if you have any other schedules already, bear this in mind. I'm going to name this Twitter Monthly Trigger. Next, provide a description for your own documentation. Next, we need to choose a frequency. This is in standard cron format. If you need help creating a cron schedule, I recommend crontab Guru, which is linked in the description. Switching over to crontab Guru, I'm going to have my Twitterbot example trigger at 10 o'clock on the first day of every month. That creates this format here, but you can customize it inside crontab Guru to fit your needs. Let's copy our cron format, go back to our Cloud Scheduler page, and paste it in. Next, we need to set our time zone. I'm based in the UK, so I'm going to choose the United Kingdom. Finally, we need to set a target. This will be our pub sub channel we created earlier, so hit pub sub. Then enter the topic that you chose earlier. We go back to our pub sub, we can see we called it monthly tweet. And then finally, we need to set a payload. As we're not really taking anything in from the scheduler, we're just going to set that as trigger because there needs to be a value of some kind. Then hit create. And now you can see we have our Cloud Scheduler job set to target our monthly tweet. Now we've set up our pub sub channel and our schedule in Cloud Scheduler, it's time to put in our logic for our Twitter bot into a Cloud function. In this section, we're going to create the function, we're going to subscribe it to the pub sub channel we created earlier, and also we're going to run a manual test to verify that everything's working. In the description is a link to the Cloud Functions page, as well as a link to the example code used in this tutorial available on my GitHub. Bear in mind that it's been tested only with Python 3.7. As of this time, Python 3.8 produces some errors that I can't fix. There's also a link to the example tweet we will create in the description as well, so you can verify that everything's worked. So let's create our GCP function. Here we are on the GCP functions dashboard, and then we first need to create a function. We need to give this function a name. I'm going to call it TwitterBot. And we need to select a region. Remember that when we selected our region in Cloud Scheduler, we need to match that region here. So in that example, I use Europe West 2, and I'm going to hit Europe West 2 here as well. Next is our trigger type. Obviously, we've created a pub sub channel, so we select Cloud Pub Sub, and the topic we want is the one we created earlier, the monthly tweet. Then hit save. Now we can move on to the code itself. Here we are in the inline editor for the logic of the Cloud function. First of all, we need to choose the language we're using. In this tutorial, I'll be using Python 3.7, but you're welcome to use whichever language you prefer. Just bear in mind that I won't be covering that in this tutorial. So let's switch over to Python 3.7. Next, we need to put in the logic of our program. I'm going to be using the code available on the GitHub that is accompanying this tutorial. However, you're welcome to chop and change that code to whatever you want, or indeed write it yourself if you prefer. Let's first grab our main program. and put it in here. And then we need to set our requirements for additional packages. So we switch over to the requirements document. And again, that requirements document is accompanying the GitHub as well. But bear in mind that if you have additional libraries and other components you're using, you'll need to define them in here. So let's put our requirements in here. Lastly, let's go back to our main document. And we need to change the entry point for the function to the main function we want to use as the starting point for the Cloud function. So we just need to copy the name of the function here and paste that into the entry point box at the top. Now, hit deploy. After a little while, your blue circle will turn to a green tick to indicate that the bot is successfully deployed. A small side note, if you get a failure to deploy, as I did the first time I tried to do this, as you can see I'm already on version 2, if you go to your logs, you can view the various errors that have been produced when the bot was trying to be deployed. And as you can see, this orange one here, there was an error. If you need to understand this error more, you can go to the Logs Explorer feature in GCP. To do that, go to the top, search Logs, and click on Logs Explorer. That will open up your main logging dashboard. If you filter by error, that will load up more information. And then you can search through your errors until you see the different errors that may or may not have caused a problem. In my case, it was this one here, which is a tab error. This is whereby the Python code that the Cloud function was written in had inconsistent spacing to indentations. To fix that, if you go back to your Cloud function and hit edit, that will bring this page up again. Just hit next. And make sure that when you have spaces or indentation next to each line, ensure that it is 4 individual spaces and not a tab, as GCP requires you to format it in this way. Then hit deploy, and things will work just fine. Once your deployment starts, it will eventually have a green tick next to it. That indicates that the build has completed and it is ready to go. We can actually test our function now using the Cloud Scheduler manual Run Now option. So switch over to Cloud Scheduler. You can see our monthly trigger is enabled here, and you can just hit Run Now. That will simulate the scheduled signal that would be done at the 10 o'clock of each day of the month, and that will go through the pub subchannel, triggering the Cloud function, and then obviously then creating the tweet using the credentials stored in Secrets Manager. So let's see if it worked. And as we can see, a hello world has come up on my Twitter. I will put a link to this tweet in the description so you can verify it for yourself. So now the test is complete, let's summarize what we've gone over today. Firstly, let's go over the features we now have as part of our Twitterbot deployment. First of all, our Twitter credentials are secured with GCP Secrets Manager and all of the security assurance that brings. Our Python code does not contain any hard-coded credentials, which a lot of traditional Twitter bots did have. The bot is supported by GCP's high availability SLAs, which ensures that it's always going to work, at least for 95% of the time. And lastly, because of the format of this code, you can deploy multiple bots to do multiple different things with the same credentials, which allows you to have perhaps an army of bots doing different things at different times. I've linked in the description Google Cloud Platform's service level agreements so you can see their availability guarantees for yourself. Lastly, let's have a look at billing and costs for a project like this. On the bottom of the page here, you can see my current billing predictions and costs for the period of January 1st to February 7th, 2021. In total, I've spent 5 pence, so therefore the project is, for me, incredibly affordable. And if money really is an issue, you may consider the fact that the free trial mentioned at the beginning of this video gives you $300 worth of free credit for a year to try out Google Cloud Platform with no obligation to pay afterwards if you don't want to. I've also included, as a link in the description, a link to the Google Cloud Platform billing calculator so you can work out some costs yourself if you intend to deploy multiple versions of this bot or use any other Google Cloud Platform service for that matter. And with that, we reach the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please do visit my website or follow me on socials, linked below in the description, and have a great day.